Welcome back to Blatantly Honest with Makaila Nichols. I'm so excited for our next guest, Kristofer Buckle. He's a literal legend in the world of makeup. He's worked with the likes of Madonna, Mariah Carey, Blake Lively, and so many other celebrities. Oh, and by the way, he has an incredible makeup line called Kristofer Buckle. Despite his icon status, life wasn't always perfect for him. Growing up, he was bullied unmercifully by members of his family and people in his life. Kristofer knows how it feels to be different, but he says that his differences made him the success he is today. Welcome, Kristofer. Why don't you tell us all a little bit about your childhood growing up?
My childhood growing up was, my parents divorced when I was like 7 years old, and everything kind of just changed after that. My mother had boyfriends and husbands, and um, I was bullied at home. I was bullied on the streets. I was bullied in school. So it was overall an unsafe feeling no matter where I went. So it just, but I don't think that's that uncommon these days.
Unfortunately, it's not uncommon, but the fact that you had to go through it, being so young, it's like, what is this? Like, am I always going to be treated this way? So, what kind of bullying was going on at home? Was it because your mom was having different men in the house?
Well, yes, but they were usually from another country, and they just had a different way of living, and they were very strict. And of course, I was very elaborate looking, even I was very theatrical. So even as a child, I always styled myself in a more eccentric kind of way, and they were not happy with it. And they were very like machismo and all of that. And I was clearly a gay boy. From the time I was a baby, people knew I was gay. And so there was no hiding, like I would do my best to assimilate and to kind of just become one with everyone else and kind of fall under the radar. And I would try so hard to just blend in, but no matter how hard I tried, everybody could just identify me as different.
So you said when you always knew you're gay and everyone else always knew that. So how was that? I mean, was there a moment when you actually like came out and you're like, hey, or did they kind of take that moment away from you?
I always, growing up, friends of mine would be telling me that they came out to their family and then their families would disown them and create all kinds of drama, and people would have to leave home. They'd be thrown out of the house. And to me, I always felt like it's just such an awful predicament to be in, that you have the responsibility to come out, to explain yourself. Like heterosexual kids, the straight kids never had to say, Mom, Dad, can you sit down? I've got something important to tell you. I'm straight. So I always felt like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm just going to live my life. And if you're intelligent and you can put two and two together, well, then, like, if someone asked me, I always said, if my parents asked me, I would just say, yes, I'm gay. But I felt like if somebody wasn't in a position, if they weren't emotionally prepared to get the answer, they wouldn't ask the question. So I waited a very long time to be asked. But my mom would be like, where are you going? Because I started going out very young to nightclubs and stuff in the 80s. And my mom would be like, where are you going? I said, I'm going out to dance. And she'd be like, well, where are you going? And I said, in the city. Where? And I would say the name of the club. And she'd go, what kind of place is that? And I'd say, well, it's a gay club. And she's like, well, are you afraid the gays are going to try to pick you up? And I was like, no.
Nope, Mom, actually, I'm not.
I wasn't afraid. So, but she never would actually come out and ask. So
I know, I can't imagine like going through that and just being like, are you going to ask me? Are you not going to ask me? Because I feel like a lot of the kids nowadays are under, like, there's so many movies and like coming out is this big thing. And it's like, well, you should just always not be afraid to be yourself. And there's like this whole pressure of like, okay, I got to come out and I got to do this whole thing. Like, what do you have to say to those kids that are afraid to come out or afraid to do that?
If you're afraid to come out, there's probably a reason. Fear is a protective thing that our bodies give us. Fear is not necessarily a bad thing all the time. It can be protecting you. If you feel fear about doing something, then you should really think about it, because no awards are given out for coming out. If it's right for you, then you'll know it and you won't have fear. But if you still have fear, maybe you shouldn't play that hand. Maybe you need to get past the at-home moment. If you feel fear, maybe you know that you're going to be met with resistance and disapproval and be put out on the street or something like that. You know, don't make your life, as the most important thing is to know who you are. It doesn't matter if other people know who you are. It all starts with yourself. So know who you are, have a strong sense of that, and you move through life that way. Your audience always finds you. The people that accept you, the people that are open to you, the people that appreciate you and love you and celebrate you, they always find you. And some people that are structurally important, like family members and things like that, people that we're taught are very important in our lives, might fall away, because the only important people in your life are really the people that love you and appreciate you. Sometimes there are, you know, family members that don't. Sometimes it's friends that change their mind, and that's fine.
Definitely. I know people come in. There's this quote, and I always refer to it, and it's like people come into your life as either a blessing, a lesson, or a curse. And it's like that can even be parts of your family too. Just because they're structurally there doesn't mean they're healthy for you. So, did you ever feel a kind of fear at home? I know you said it was really unstable, but were you kind of just fearful through your childhood?
I was fearful. I should say, not fearful, but I felt the threat, the impending threat of attack at home, on the street, and at school. I wore a lot of makeup, like theatrical. I was a punk in the 80s. So I wore giant costumes that I would make for myself and elaborate hair, makeup, everything, like way over the top. And so after realizing that no matter what I did to blend in didn't work and they can identify me, I was like, well, if I'm going to go through hell trying my best to blend in, what have I got to lose? I might as well sparkle and shine as brightly as I can, because at least I'll enjoy myself and I'll look the way that I want to look. But yeah, the threat was everywhere. And, you know, through life, I've realized that like bullies, they're basically the pack. Mm-hmm. And they pick one person out. And to me, I call it like the Dorothy kind of thing, like from The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
The Wicked Witch wanted Dorothy's ruby slippers. And Glinda said, they must hold on to them tight because they must be very powerful. Otherwise, she wouldn't want them. So I really think that the people who are singled out and attacked are really kind of like the unicorns of the world. There's something special about them. There's something that they have that's magical and powerful. And it's individual. And I think that the pack is threatened by it subconsciously. And they want to take it down because they don't understand it. And anybody who has the audacity to be an individual is a threat to the pack.
I love that example that you said. I've never heard that before. And I think that's so beautiful because it's true. You know, the people who are bullied, and you and I, we're so passionate about what we do and we know it. And especially like with Brandon too. And it's just like, these are the people that are bullied. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you sound like. People are going to pick on you for God knows what. I mean, for me, I was tall, lanky, and I started modeling, and like, that was it. And all the girls hated me for that because they wanted to do that and couldn't. And like with you, you were never afraid to be yourself. And you're like, you know, I love makeup, like who cares? But people try to tear that down because they lack that sense of self-esteem.
The thing that's very important to remember for anybody being bullied as a young person or whatever, if it's happening now or if it happened in the past, is that the thing that you are identified as different is the very thing that will get you to the place that you want to be, and you will eventually be celebrated for it. The thing that I was made fun of was because I looked so different, I was so made up. But the fact that I was so made up, those were my training years. That's how I learned how to do makeup. And now I'm celebrated, and that's my success.
Let's talk about your success because it is just so impressive. You've built a makeup empire. How did that all come about?
Wow. Well, I always did. I grew up singing and acting and doing all of those things, and I wanted to pursue that. But you don't walk down the street singing and dancing usually, unless, you know, you got a screw loose. But I would, everywhere I went, people could see that I could paint a face because my billboard was my own face, and it was very dramatic and it demanded a lot of attention. So people would automatically just offer me jobs doing makeup. And so I was working at the Metropolitan Opera, and I worked at Patricia Fields in New York, which was a street trend-setting hub of New York downtown fashion and style. And I just kept saying yes. And I was nervous because I had low self-esteem as somebody who grew up in an abusive home and bullied everywhere. But what happens is when you're not accepted, you've got nothing to lose. Everyone hates you. So yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, can you do this? Sure, I can do it, because the worst thing that's gonna happen is they're gonna laugh at you. And I grew up being laughed at. So all of my enemies ended up building me up and giving me strength by trying to chip away at me, because it just made me stronger and stronger. And you get calluses in the right places. And so it really prepared me to be in the entertainment industry, which is where I predominantly work.
Oh, I like that saying that the calluses, I always say they fuel my fire. You know, I'm like, yeah, keep throwing it in because it's working for me. So
exactly, every punch numbs me a little more. And you know, so it's fine. And you know, it all falls into perspective, and you just realize where it's coming from. And it's all fear-based.
It is.
Individuals are scary.
They are, and they're scared of feeling powerless. And so that's their way of feeling powerful. So now with the career you're in, and it has just blossomed, and you've worked with so many different celebrities, and I see that you work with Mariah Carey a lot. How has that shaped you as a human being?
Wow. Well, I will say, you know, my personality has not changed from the time I was a kid. The only thing that's changed is that I'm more confident, because there were so many question marks when I was growing up, like, am I good enough? Am I this enough? But now I've proven myself to myself. I don't care about proving myself to other people, but I've proven to myself that I am worthy. I have something that has value. At this point, the way that I see the world and the way that I see people and beauty has shaped the industry over time, you know, because everybody that's involved in the conversation or the visual ends up having an effect. So to me, that's how it's maybe affected me or changed me. But working with celebrities and stuff, it's definitely stressful, you know.
Sure.
But I was always so stressed as a kid, and walking into a room knowing that I stood out and that all eyes were going to be on me, and usually a lot of judgment, that prepped me to walk into a room and sit down in front of Madonna, Mariah, Jennifer Lopez, or Christina Aguilera, or Britney Spears, and just say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what I think. And so, because the worst that's going to happen is they're going to laugh at me. And what's so bad about that?
Nothing is so bad about that. And it's originally like the first thought, like I used to be so scared to be laughed at. And now you're right. It's just like, oh, they're going to laugh at me, and then I'm going to go on my way, and it's not going to impact me anymore. So sitting down with these celebrities and working with them, you said the stress, obviously it's stressful. I can only imagine. You don't want to mess up, and it's like this pressure, but people always have these assumptions about celebrities, that they don't care, that bullying doesn't impact them. Have any of them ever opened up to you about their own experiences?
The interesting thing is that most celebrity, talented people have been bullied. You know, Mariah has her book out now, The Meaning of Mariah, which is #1 and done so well. But that book describes how much she's been bullied, and she had some really scary moments, and just cruel moments. We grew up in the same part of Long Island, and it's just, yeah, I mean, most celebrities stood out. they were not like other people, and the reason why they were successful is because they didn't blend in. You know, blending in and trends, like following trends, is the fastest way to average. So it's really the most important thing that anybody can do is honor who they truly are and take that chance, because I'd rather fail at being who I am, and any of those celebrities would have rather failed at being who they are than be something else.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't know how to be themselves, especially in a society where, we're always being told to follow the trends, to be like this person. How did you stay so true to yourself? Was it just like, I don't care? Or, I mean, I'm sure it was difficult because people are trying to tell you, hey, be like this. What advice do you have for the people who follow the trends?
I was told at a very young age that I was wrong. The way I looked was wrong, the way I acted was wrong, the way I walked was wrong, the way I spoke was wrong. My choices in what I wanted to do for a living were wrong. And every single thing, I kind of watched the adults around me, and I realized I don't think they got it right. That none of them was so great, and I don't really consider, like, my standards were so much higher than anything that they had reached. So I wasn't going to listen to somebody else, and I knew that what was right for me. So I just lost respect for the opinions of others and just followed my own path. And I just took the chance. As far as like following trends, I just think that it's always like, if you're following trends, you're averaging yourself out instead of approaching your, like, let's talk makeup because that's where I sit. Instead of following what eyeliner or lip color or eyeshadows or whatever are trending, wouldn't it just be best to figure out what makes you look your absolute best and then run with it? Because you'll shine the brightest, your personal brightest at that point, instead of forcing something onto yourself, like some rubber stamp of beauty or personality. It's just, don't get caught up in the trends. Like, really just find your own thing and do you, because you will then stand out and you will get the attention and you will have the opportunities to prove yourself and to succeed.
Powerful advice, especially now in that social media stage and all these, there's a lot of different makeup influencers. Do you think with this whole like influencer thing, what is your stand on that? Because obviously social media and like TikTok and all this stuff wasn't around when you were starting your career. You're like you said, I went down the street and this is me and this is what I did. And like that was you. Do you think that the industry is going to be more dominated with these kind of influencers, or do you think it's just kind of a trend? Because obviously you're a professional, it's your career. Does the social media thing kind of scare you? Do you think that's the route? Like, what are your take on that?
To be honest, like, because I've been in this business for 30 years or longer at this point, and a lot of the people who have done all the covers of magazines like me and have had a lot of success and have been in this business a very long time, a lot of those people, when I'm speaking with them, don't like the influencer thing. They have an attitude about it, and maybe because it's just so different from just the pure art that I grew up in the business doing. It was less trickery. It was just like pure talent. Also, we didn't have digital retouching. You either painted someone perfect or it was wrong. There was no like, oh, we'll fix it in post. There was just, you didn't do that. If there was a bruise on the leg, you had to cover every single mark on the body. So I think that most of the people that have been in this business a long time are threatened by the whole Instagram and influencer thing. I think that there's always room to kind of grow and to kind of ease into it. Again, like I said, I'm not a follower, I'm a leader, and I don't have to, I have to lead within myself. I have to do what's comfortable for me. So I think that there's room to integrate it, but I'm not going to transform myself to fit into it. I think that I have a very firm place where I sit, and the people who are influencers who have success in it, I think that it's wonderful and it's great, and that's where they sit, and that's great for them. The one thing I do see is that a lot of influencers follow trends. That's where I think it goes wrong. If I see any more liquid eyeliner with the cut crease and the glitter lid and the red eyeshadow and the this and that, like when you follow trends, it's like the enemy of creativity because you have to just take the chance, like because it's social media and it's out there and so many people, there's so many eyes on it, everyone's afraid to be judged or to get it wrong because it's the backlash or the and public. But you have to take the chance. You have to let them laugh at you. You have to dare to be wrong because that's where it stays exciting. Once you are going through page after page after page of orange eyeshadow and yellow, and it's always the same thing, you know, and sometimes the look would have been better without 2 pairs of eyelashes or an incredibly metallic highlighter, you know, so just everyone has to follow their eye and just do what's honest to that. As an artist.
It's a brilliant answer. I wish I knew more about makeup because I personally cannot apply makeup to save my life. So even like watching just for me, I'm like, oh my God, like that looks so difficult. It is truly an art form and I have so much respect for it. But there's also the people that are like, okay, well, you don't have to wear makeup and you don't have to do this. And it's changing the way that, you know, like, especially with filters, I think it's more filters than makeup personally, but like, people want to change how they look. What advice do you have for those who feel like they have to be a 10 all the time and that they have to have these big lips and these big dramatic features? Like, what advice do you have for people struggling with body dysmorphia?
Well, I always, you know, I was always accused of hiding behind my makeup because I wore so much makeup growing up. And I always said, well, there's nothing more revealing than how somebody chooses to present themselves because what we look like naturally out of when we wake up in the morning is just a combination of luck and genetics. So how you choose to express yourself of who you are on the inside, on the outside, that's very revealing. So I think that it is important how to pay attention to how people present themselves. I grew up with low self-esteem. I had people telling me that I'm ugly and disgusting and all those things. So it's very easy to fall into the trap of being dissatisfied with how you look. I think that makeup is a powerful tool to adjust things that you might be unhappy with. And I wouldn't have any guilt about that because that's what it's there for. It's to empower. It's not to, it's a tool that we can use to empower ourselves. And I always said that makeup is like a crown. It's like, it's a way of getting you to a place where you feel like you're important, you're worthy, and you can step out into the world and you can present yourself however you want and however you feel that day. It could change from day to day.
It can change from day to day, especially with the people following the trends, which shouldn't do. Do you, right? Do you, boo?
I was going to say, when it comes to body dysmorphia and like changing your face and how everybody wants fuller lips and all of that, I just see a trend of it happening a little bit. Like people are getting injections and stuff. And wait, I mean, I'm not against it, let's face it. But I think that there's danger in young people making choices that are really altering the way that they look, because you're still, when I was younger, I didn't want to hear that I was young and not making, you know, the thing is that you're growing, we're constantly growing. So give yourself a chance to really have a full understanding of who you are and what you want. And it's like an explorative kind of thing. You have to kind of explore the options and always play with makeup before you start going into injections. Like live with a fuller lip and, you know, through makeup and see if that works for you before you start getting injections and spending your money. And yeah, and try not to just do formula. A lot of times doctors even do like formula faces on people, you know, like everyone has the same exact everything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's all going to be the same, which is dangerous because people then want to find that, and then that we all lose that unique thing about us, like we were talking about earlier, the thing that makes us different, and that's the thing that helps us shine. And all these young kids, I feel like, are just so desperate to shine, but they feel like in order to do that, they have to be like the cookie cutter version of every other human.
There's also a danger of, there's something magical about everyone's face. there's something that there's like a feeling. And, you know, like just the other day, somebody who I know was talking about getting the bump removed from her nose. And she's got beautiful dark hair and olive skin. And there's a slight bump on, you know, just slight, but it actually makes her look European and like mysterious and sexy. And I know that when she removes that bump, she's going to just look like everyone else, you know, just pretty, but not interesting and not as sexy. So you have to be careful with those things.
There's definitely a fine line of altering. And obviously there's things that we're all insecure about. And growing up in the, you know, low self-esteem myself, being told like, hey, Makaila, you're too big. You got to do this. You got to do, I mean, it's still in my head. And so now just being able to say, you know what, I love this about me. I love how, you know, I also have a little bump on my nose. I love it. You know, does it drive me crazy? 100%. But would it change me? Yeah. And I get that.
Yeah. I started in the business in the early mid 90s doing fashion. So I worked with Linda Evangelista, I worked with Naomi and like Christy Turlington, every supermodel. And there was a huge push for the models to be as thin as possible at that time. It was like the whole like grunge, heroin chic kind of thing. So everyone was so underweight. And I would see so many girls come into the business and then suddenly they just started disappearing, you know, and it's such a fine line between thin and way too thin. And it's just so dangerous. And it's just, you probably know that it's like, once you go down that road, it's just, it takes years to unsee. And it's basically because of other people's vision that they're enforcing on you instead of your own. So you have to really stay true to and appreciate all of it, even the imperfections, and just do the best you can.
Right? You just got to try. And hey, the worst thing, they laugh at you. Do you have any new collections coming out with your line? What can they expect from you?
Well, right now I've not been producing new things, new products with the line because of the COVID thing. And also it's really screwed up because of the, a lot of things are done, like packaging is made in Asia. And so everything is like delayed and everything. So we're just kind of like holding steady. I have a lot of sales on my website at kristoferbuckle.com. And so you can get really great values right now. So you can always go check that stuff out. And, but yeah, I am working my butt off. I just finished shooting the Mariah Carey Christmas special that's going to be on Apple Plus this holiday season. And it's going to be a spectacular.
I'm sure I wouldn't expect anything less.
But yeah, I'm plugging away, painting those faces in Hollywood and just doing the best I can, like all of us.
And you're such an advocate for anti-bullying. We're so lucky to have you on as an Operation Inclusion Ambassador. What is the opportunity to encourage people to go to the moon? Like, what does that mean to you?
Well, the moon is the closest kind of planetary / celestial mass near us. Okay, so the moon also is attached to magic and this energy, you know, like the full moon changes the tides of the ocean, you know, so it has a magnetic pull. So to me, being able to send yourself there, a photo of yourself there is a very safe way.
Yeah.
Put yourself in that energy, you know, it's a way of celebrating yourself. It's a way of putting yourself on a throne, the most gorgeous throne, and you can look at it all the time. It's a beacon and it's a symbol. And so that moon, knowing that your image is part of that and it can be a symbol for you through life. And you can always just look to the moon and be like, you know what? I'm okay. Another thing is that the moon reflects the light of the sun. That's what illuminates it. And so to me, it's also a symbol that it can remind us all that we need to reflect light. So we have to help each other shine as brightly as we can and reflect goodness and light into the world.
Well, we're so lucky to have you involved with that. And we're excited, and it's going to be great. And we can all like look up at the moon knowing that our memory's up there, and that no one can look down at victims of bullying and people that felt insecure and felt like they didn't matter, because you matter and you can look up and hold yourself to that. So I guess my final question for you is, if you could tell the youngest version of yourself that struggled with self-esteem and bullying, what one piece of advice would you give him?
Wow. I guess I would tell my younger self 200 years ago. I would say, Larry, because I did change my name.
Really?
I did. Um, you are magical, you're strong, you're powerful, and all the adults and all the children are intimidated by you. They don't even know why they're intimidated by you, but walk your path, keep your chin up, be strong, don't take any shit, and help yourself and help others get through it. Be bold, be you, be blatantly honest.